Delicious. Okay, so last year I picked up this book, which is called The Ape That Understood the Universe. It's by Steve Stuart Williams, and he's an evolutionary psychologist, and it's a pretty damn good book. And in it, the actual introduction is based around this alien who comes to Earth from a civilization very, very far away on another planet, in another galaxy or something like that, and then is observing human behavior, how these blobs of protoplasm sort of make noise at each other or something like that, and just sort of reinterpreting our behaviors. I thought, what a great way to look at the world as this alien anthropologist, let's say, who comes to Earth and is viewing something in particular that interests me, and probably you, because you're watching this, is perfumes and perfume reviewers in particular. So whilst my idea isn't exactly original, watch on, because it gets a little bit interesting. Yeah, it's not a clickbaity title, I promise. So let's set the scene. So let's say you're an alien anthropologist that you've been sent to Earth to study human behavior. And after months of research, you discover that members of this supposedly intelligent species spend hours recording themselves smelling scented bottles of liquid. And then they upload these olfactory soliloquies to a platform where millions of other humans watch them, smelling bottles. Your report back to the mothership would be brief. Species shows promise, but appears to have lost its collective mind somewhere between inventing fire and inventing the ability to monetize sniffing. Welcome to the world of fragrance reviewing, the intellectual equivalent of explaining colors to the colorblind, yet somehow it's become the most beautifully absurd corner of the internet. And today, we're going to explore why this might be the most important dumb thing that humans have ever done. Stick with me. All right, so let's establish how absurdly absurd and cosmically absurd this whole thing is. Fragrance reviewing is the practice of basically describing the indescribable to people who can't experience it using words that don't technically exist yet, and for products that smell different on every human being. It's like being a food critic for invisible cuisine that changes flavor based on your DNA. And this whole thing is fundamentally doomed from the very beginning because scent molecules are invisible. They're personal, they're also ephemeral, as in they go away after a while. And so basically trying to convey a description of how Creed Aventus smells, for example, through a screen is trying to explain the concept of wetness to someone who's never experienced moisture. Yet, here we are, millions of us meaty blobs of protoplasm, basically glued to these glowing rectangles, watching strangers like me tell them about how bergamot makes me feel feelings. And this community, and I'm going to call it a community for the sake of this video, in this community, we've developed our own ecosystem of language. I mean, we talk about performance like perfumes are some kind of aromatic athletes at the Olympics that are competing each other in events or something like that. We talk about projection like we're launching scent missiles at each other or something. We talk about these stupid fucking things called dry downs. What the fuck is a dry down? We talk about them like we're wine sommeliers, expressing different flavors and characteristics and terroir or some bullshit like that. However, wine doesn't change its molecular composition based on your body temperature or your stress levels. Consider the standard fragrance review format. A human being sprays liquid on their skin, waits, sniffs themselves, and then makes proclamations about longevity and sillage, and then perhaps assigns a numerical rating, maybe a number out of 10, to an experience that they had that exists purely in the realm of subjective neurological response. That's insane. Oh, damn, this is really good. This one's really a nice one. So sorry, I had to tease people with this bottle. Okay, let's move on. It's like rating the quality of your dreams on a 10-point scale and then expecting others to find that useful. Pause for effect. I'm pausing for effect. Let me say that again. It's like you had a dream and then you say, I had this mad dream. It was like this. I give that dream an 8 out of 10. I hope you found that useful. Huh? And I'm just going to pause for effect a little bit more. Okay, that's enough. And yet, I say and yet, there's something magical that happens in this space. In this space of what I call a beautiful nonsense. Let's get scientific for a little bit. Humans, we're like pattern recognition machines. And we survived by becoming obsessively expert about seemingly random environmental details. Now, our ancestors who could distinguish between 47 different types of berries, they got to live. And the ones who couldn't distinguish between what was nutritious and what will kill your entire family, well, they died. So they didn't pass on their genes. So we are the biological benefactors of that type of behavior. And so we're biologically programmed to develop hyper-specific expertise about things that probably don't matter, but might matter enough to keep us alive. Now, back then when it meant something to do with survival, and now it's probably a maladaption. And I've talked about maladaptive behavior before. And in this modern world, it manifests as people who can identify probably like the exact oak cask, the type of oak that's used in the oak cask, or aging, the number of years that a whiskey has been aged or something like that, just by the smell. You know, my mechanic, who was back when I drove a BMW, my mechanic was a master BMW mechanic or something like that. He would just smell my engine oil. And I swear to God, I've seen him taste it a couple of times. And then he would be able to tell what was exactly wrong with my car, if it had something to do with the engine, for example. Rest in peace. I mean, no, I'm kidding. He's still alive. But that's the type of expertise that we actually get hyper-specific about. I mean, there's also people who can basically touch like Egyptian cotton and tell you the thread count, for example. You know, that's the type of hyper-specific things that we've been able to focus away from. Like we've solved survival, and now we're just focusing that ability on other things that probably don't matter in the real world to keep us alive. And fragrance reviewing is the same thing. It's this whole ancient pattern recognition obsession that we've got. We've applied to, I guess, smelly liquid. And so we're essentially cavemen who've discovered that different combinations of aromatic compounds might signal different things about genetic compatibility, health, status, or resource availability. But instead of using this information to survive, we use it to make YouTube videos about why Sauvage smells like masculine confidence with notes of fresh regret or something like that. Humans can actually distinguish between roughly 1 trillion different scent combinations. So we've got an olfactory capacity that rivals our ability to see millions of colors, yet most people can barely name 12 scents. It's just this communication device we call language. It's just not up to par with what we've been able to develop or evolve over time. But fragrance reviewers are plugging that space. We're using this dormant sort of superpower, and then we're talking about it. We're talking about it for ad revenue. Please subscribe. From an anthropological perspective, fragrance reviewing represents the pinnacle of post-scarcity human behavior. We've solved survival. So now we're applying survival level focus to questions like, you know, whether Bleu de Chanel has better maceration than Sauvage or something like that. Or, you know, which would you prefer, Sauvage or Bleu de Chanel? Who cares, really? It's like basically, and this superpower that we've got, it's like basically we're using a nuclear reactor to power a torch or a nightlight or something like that. We're just so much capability to do fragrance reviews for ad revenue. That's fantastic. And the central tragedy tragedy or comedy, probably both, of fragrance reviewing is its fundamental impossibility. The language that we've got has been used to describe shared experiences like danger, food, water, social dynamics. It didn't evolve to describe the aromatic experiences of someone else's chemistry interacting with molecules that you can't perceive. Yet we've still got reviewers, heaps of them, who persist with the freaking energy of salmon swimming upstream, basically, developing elaborate metaphorical frameworks to bridge the unbridgeable. They speak of fragrances as having openings, like a theater curtains. Theater! Developing like photographs and projecting like emotional states. They create elaborate narratives around scent journeys that exist only in the private theater of their own nasal cavities. Theater! The result is a form of performance art masquerading as consumer advice. Now, if you don't like that, too bad for you, because that's what it is. Reviewers don't just describe fragrances, they create entire mythologies around them. Aventus isn't just a combination of pineapple, bergamot, oak moss, birch. It's the scent of boardroom confidence, liquid charisma, panty dropper. What success would smell like if success had a fragrance wardrobe? These linguistic gymnastics serve a deeper psychological function. In a world that's increasingly dominated by algorithmic precision, fragrance reviewing celebrates the irreducibly subjective. It's one of the few remaining spaces where individual experience can't be data mined. You can't quantify it. You can't replicate it. Your reaction to Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille is yours alone, and no amount of machine learning can predict whether you'll smell cozy sophistication or a vampire's tobacco shop or a chocolate gummy bear that's been stuck to a fat guy's butt while he sits on the couch playing video games for 7 hours on a hot summer's day and wears a fedora. This absurdity actually deepens when you consider the comment sections. Please comment, come on. Make it more absurd. Make it as absurd as possible. Chuck your comment down there and be as absurd as possible. If you consider thousands of people discussing whether they agree with someone's description of something they haven't smelled, based on a video of someone they've never met, talking about the personal chemical reaction, then you'll agree that it's kind of like a book club for books that don't exist, where everyone has strong opinions about the plot. And this is where it gets beautiful. The impossibility is the point. Fragrance reviewing exists because it's impossible, not in spite of it. Let's get philosophical now. Let's get philosophical. In an age where AI can compose symphonies, write poetry, solve mathematical theorems, write this YouTube script. Hold on. The gloriously human act of developing completely useless expertise becomes a form of resistance. Fragrance reviewing is the ultimate because we can type of activity. It serves no evolutionary purpose whatsoever. It solves no practical problems, and it adds nothing to humanity's survival aspects or prospects. And that's precisely why it's essential. You got to consider what fragrance reviewers actually do. They develop olfactory memories spanning thousands of different scent experiences, and they learn to articulate what cannot be articulated. They create communities around shared appreciation for the intangible. They turn consumption into curation, and then curation into performance art. And more importantly, they preserve human curiosity about things that don't matter, which is to say, things that matter in ways that we haven't yet learned to measure. We're in a world that's increasingly optimized for efficiency, but fragrance reviewing celebrates the magnificently inefficient pursuit of knowledge for its own sake. The community aspect can't be understated either, because there's fragrance forums and YouTube comment sections that go nuts, and they've become spaces where strangers bond over shared chemical experiences they can never really truly verify because you can't use someone else's nose to smell. It's really like a religion. It's faith-based community building. I trust you when you say Tom Ford's oud wood smells like luxury whispered in Sanskrit. I trust that you're experiencing something that's worth my attention. This might be the most uniquely human thing that we do. We create elaborate social structures around entirely subjective experiences. And that these subjective experiences, they can't be shared. It can't be verified. It can't be monetized. We build these relationships on the foundation of believing in each other's descriptions of private sensory events. Now we're going full speed towards AI, an AI future. And in this AI future, where AI can basically simulate human responses to pretty much everything, in that world, fragrance reviewing probably is going to stand as one of the last purely analog experiences, because you can't really digitize the way oak moss is going to affect your specific neurochemistry. You can't download a memory association that makes vanilla remind you of your grandmother's kitchen. You can't stream the experience of how your skin's pH changes the molecular structure of rose oil. Fragrance reviewing celebrates the irreducibly personal in an age of algorithmic homogenization. It's a form of cognitive rebellion. The insistence that some experiences matter precisely because they can't be quantified, replicated, or understood by anyone but the person having them. The dumbness of fragrance reviewing is actually its sophistication. In pursuing expertise about something utterly subjective, fragrance reviewers are practicing a form of consciousness that no AI can replicate. They're developing the capacity to notice, articulate, and share experiences that exist in the gap between language and sensation. Moreover, they're creating cultural memories around ephemeral experiences. When a fragrance gets discontinued, the only record of its existence is going to live in the descriptions and the reviews and memories of people who experienced it. And fragrance reviewers are inadvertent historians of scent. They're preserving olfactory culture for future generations. These future generations who will never smell these exact combinations of molecules. This preservation instinct, the need to document, categorize, share knowledge about things that will disappear, might be humanity's most beautiful compulsion. We review fragrances for the same reason we write poetry about sunsets, because some experiences are too important to let vanish unwitnessed, even if, especially if, they can't be perfectly shared. So yes, fragrance reviewing is absurd. It's like the practice of describing water to fish, or explaining color to the blind, creating elaborate taxonomies for experiences that exist only in the private theaters of individual consciousness. Theater! But in our rush towards optimization, automation, artificial intelligence, we need more beautiful absurdities, not fewer. We need more people willing to spend hours developing expertise about things that don't matter, because the act of caring deeply about anything, even invisible, subjective, commercially driven scent experiences, even that, the act of caring deeply about anything is training for caring deeply about everything else. Fragrance reviewing is practice for being human in the fullest sense, noticing details others miss, finding language for the ineffable, building communities around shared appreciations, and insisting that subjective experience has value even when it can't be measured, even when it can't be reproduced or understood by machines. So in a world that's increasingly determined to make everything smart, fragrance reviewing insists on the value of making some things beautifully, purposefully dumb. We review fragrances not because they matter, but because the act of finding meaning in things that don't matter is the most important skill humans possess, and the one we must never let the algorithms learn.